All right, so again, welcome to the Ultravation Review training here on UV IAQ. We'll be breezing through the ASHRAE alignment guidelines, CDC guidelines, and obviously passing through the residential and commercial offerings from Ultravation. As a reminder, I'm the territory rep here based out of Pennsylvania. We manage the Delaware to Maine for Ultravation, the factory. So we've been at it for a while. We manage a lot of product lines, but specifically today we're here for Ultravation. So the point of this refresher training for all of our wholesaler and contractor partners is we're just making sure everybody understands the current push on IAQ technology, the UVC versus UVGI references that are coming out of the ASHRAE guidelines, their recommendations, and then obviously that adherence, and then obviously differentiating us from some of the competition out there because we do things differently. So as a quick refresher, this is just a fun mock-up. As far as Ultravation is concerned, and we're talking about their air treatment, we're dealing with filtration, UV disinfection, and UV air purification. There is a difference. This is just a residential mock-up attic space, but it gives people an example so they can see, okay, yes, we have some ionization technology that we can do to improve filtration. And some companies do apply this into commercial applications as well. We deal with coil disinfection, right? Surface area. There's a straight through on our MERV 11, MERV 13 filter application. And then when you're hitting the supply, this is just one of our higher end mock-up examples of something we would apply into a supply after you've already taken care of the HVAC equipment. So one thing we'll get through right away is a lot of people have been bringing up the UVGI nowadays because that is actually the term referenced in the ASHRAE guidelines, chapter 62. So we're always reminding people that if we're discussing things with HVAC, as far as Ultravation is concerned, we have to make sure people understand that UVGI is specifically what's called out in the guidelines, in the handbook, and you cannot pull off UVGI as a technology unless you're using products that are using UVC wavelength bulbs. There's UVA, there's UVB, there's UVC. UVC is the most dangerous form of UV light on the light spectrum. So that is why we call out UVGI awareness. And that's what we reference in our training so people understand there is a direct alignment there. We have all these links that we can share separately in another email, but we have also the guidelines released from the CDC back when everything went down this year and COVID started unlocking and being more aware. They reference also saying CDC also does align with UVC wavelength technology as well. And that's something they recommend for indoor air quality. Now, since Ultravation does work around with multiple technologies, we do also work with PCO applications, which is photocatalytic oxidation, which again, what we recommend on our higher end solutions is you are using a UVC wavelength bulb to activate the catalyst effect, which is the titanium dioxide. So we have that on metal coatings on products. We have that infused into carbon accessories. Again, higher end residential applications, but we do have some situations where it's been called out on a commercial application as well. And then we actually work with ionization, which has actually been around longer. Back when IAQ really started kicking into gear, everybody was talking about ionization a long time ago. Then UVC came into the wavelength, and then people started talking more about ionization again. So we still work with all of these areas. Now, to stay aligned with ASHRAE, they don't really strongly call out any major identifications on ionization. They're really focused on UVC wavelength, creating the UVGI technology. So real quick, I'm actually going to switch the screen share to a video, just so you understand how our PCO is designed and treated and working. And actually one of our most popular products is in this video from the residential world. And this is basically called our Photomax, but we have this also in our new higher end Solaris, which has actually been put into some smaller commercial applications as well. So let's switch over here. This will be a quick animation to help you understand our titanium dioxide applications, how we design it, how we engineer it, and obviously its purpose.
Here's how it works. The UV Photomax Advanced Oxidation Module is coated with an exclusive titanium dioxide formulation. When UV light is applied to the surface, the titanium dioxide coating becomes energized, causing it to release electrons. The electrons then combine with oxygen to create what are known as superoxides. The titanium dioxide then collects replacement electrons from moisture in the air to become charged particles known as hydroxyl radicals. Together with the superoxides, a powerful photocatalytic oxidation, or PCO field, is created. As odors, germs, mold, and other VOC organic molecules approach the PCO field, they are disassembled as the oxidizers pull electrons from them. The purification process is completed, with the remaining molecules recombining to form simple water vapor and trace amounts of carbon dioxide. Ultravation's advanced oxidation process.
So that is our PCO. Now, granted, that is just one animation. As I hinted, we don't just treat the metal surfaces with titanium dioxide, which again, can only be created, that reaction can only be created once you have a UVC light illuminating upon that surface. But we also take that same material and infuse it into carbon as well. So if you're dealing with products of metal versus carbon, the advantage of that carbon is that it'll also absorb the ozone byproduct, because there is a type of ozone that does give off from the PCO process. Now, the other piece of this, I'll actually just go ahead and switch over back and forth real quick here, is ionization. We do also, obviously, as I hinted at, improve filtration, as well as a different form of technology to help improve IAQ with ionization. We have an ion generator, and we have a lot of people using this just right before the filter. So Randy, you mentioned you guys do a lot with filtration. So our ion generator has actually got a lot of popularity here. So let me switch over here. And now this video does not have audio. This is just showing you the representation of our ion generator and its applications for filtration. So again, our generator, like most ionization generators out there, should be generating, well, actually, most of them actually only generate negative ionization. We generate negative and positive ions to create, and on layman's terms, you kind of clump up those microparticulates that are even smaller to the naked eye. So this is helping filters do a better job. The most popular application of this product and this technology is right before the filter, as you can see here on the actual video. So again, here, the whole purpose here is that there's particulates, especially on the lower end of the MERV cycle, that aren't getting caught in a filter. And even on the higher end MERV 11, MERV 13 that we sell, there's still a chance of some particulates passing by. So this is a way to improve IAQ, improve your filter's ability, while also getting a different level of technology applied into your airstream. So again, most popular application for this is on the return right before the filter. But we do have some higher end products on our residential side that we've added the same ionization electrode technology into the actual air supply product as well. And I'll show you that in a little bit. So, and that product I'm referencing, actually we've been using on some commercial applications too, because per the last video you just watched, that Photomax, we have basically a more advanced product that now called the Solaris. And that product has the ionization added into it, as well as the UVC lamp, and we can treat up to 5,000 square feet with that simple product in the duct supply. So there's been some small office applications, or less factory focused type of things, like I know you guys work with, that are definitely a benefit of having a product like this. So even though it was designed and marketed to residential, clearly it can also be applied into commercial applications as well. So as a quick reminder, with ASHRAE's position, and we have these links noted on the right that I can send on separate email if you guys want them for your own references, but they care about surface and airstream. So we're dealing with equipment, and then we're dealing with air purification if somebody has that as their targeted goal. And again, that comes even more into play when you're talking about a commercial application versus a residential application. And I know you guys have been dealing with IAQ for a while, so this is just a great refresher on why you choose UVC as the wavelength for IAQ. It is the most destructive packet of energy, rated at 254 nanometers. We do have a couple of products that use UVA as well, but those are few and far between. And that's because we have a product where we have a filter, and I'll show you in a little bit. We have a filter mounted right near where a PCO screen is on the same product. So in those situations, the UVC is so strong, it could actually damage the filter. So we've used the UVA lamp to still create the PCO activation. And I'll show you that in a little bit. But again, as a reminder, this purple sphere at the very center is the tip of the bulb. So obviously, it's just a reminder for when people are designing systems like you guys have done installs on, the closer to the surface of the bulb, the more potent and more dangerous it is. So most applications, you're going to look for proximity. So coil, especially for surface, but even in Airstream, you had mentioned you've worked with our AS series in the past. You'll notice that those bulbs are mounted 10 inches apart because we want to create some overlap of these UVC fields to create as much destructive energy in the air, in the ductwork as air is moving by. So after the review of UVC, this is the point we like to really just dig in. If we're speaking on ASHRAE guidelines for the HVAC industry, this is the same training I run contractors through, so they're more informed. We're just reminding people, again, UVC is the lamp type and that specific dangerous form of the electromagnetic spectrum. If you're applying products using UVC into an HVAC system, then technically you're actually using UVGI technology. And so obviously, if I'm applying UVC lamp products to a coil, I'm applying UVC for surface area coil performance. If I'm applying UVC products into the supply duct, I'm dealing with Airstream. And then one of my other bullet points here, you'll see towards the end of the training on the commercial, is there's these upper room applications. So if somebody's calling out an upper room to really add on additional air airborne disinfection in a large open spaces, then we have to say we're applying UV-GI technology into upper room applications. So safe to say, any product we're dealing with, as long as you have a UVC lamp on it, you're applying UV-GI on that application. Now, something else I'd like to clarify is not all lamps are created equal. So before we started talking today, you guys mentioned that you've been hearing, so lamps are hard to come by. So we work with standard UVC lamps, but we also patented our own T3 optimized lamp. So because you've worked with our Matrix series, that's standard. T3 lamp is actually the standard lamp on our commercial products. The reason why is because that's our patented design. They figured out years ago, Ultravation said, wait a minute, how can I make the bulb burn at a higher intensity, more consistently, keep the energy efficiency? I need to protect the bulb, especially during summer months like right now where the heat's kicking in and you got super cold air passing by these lamps. So they figured out, okay, the T3 lamp, we need to encapsulate it in a quartz sleeve. There's a layer of gas in there to basically protect the lamp and also create that insulating layer. And the advantage of this design is that, per the graph here, a standard UVC lamp, entry-level lamp, you're only going to peak out between 40 to maybe 75% efficiency because of the temperature fluctuations and moisture and possible dirt and particulates. Once you use a T3 class lamp, you're protected from all that. You're going to be able to hit that 100% capacity coming off the lamp. The other great clarification here is that whether it's entry level or our T3, they're all 2-year warranted lamps. But one thing clarification in the industry is 2-year warranty does not mean 2-year life. So our T3 lamps actually have a 2-year life cycle. Standard UVC lamps are only a 1-year life cycle. They're guaranteed to still light up, but by the end of the first year burning 24/7, a standard UVC lamp, you've already burned through about 30 to 40% of its efficiency and effectiveness. So if you're still going to keep that bulb in there and not change it out on an annual PM cycle, and that's not a T3 class lamp, you're losing a lot of its effectiveness. So if you're not using a T3, you really should be doing an annual PM cycle. If you're using our T3s, it's a 2-year cycle. So, and Randy, I'm not sure if you were ever told that with our Matrix series, but that's why T3 is standard on the commercial products.
Yeah, I was aware of that. Yeah.
Awesome. A lot of people never do that. I run people through these trainings, they're like, what? Okay, that's great clarification. They thought all lamps were created equal. So this is just one of our graphs off our updated commercial literature. It just gives people that reminder on, listen, blue is referencing our SI series on the Matrix side of things, right? We're dealing with surface area coil applications. Green is referencing once you add in an additional product of focus for Airstream. So if somebody has concerns with the echo virus, which is even more dangerous than COVID and Corona, if you just have racks of bulbs on a coil, well, great, I'm only going to hit about 23.92% of effectiveness against that. I have to add in an Airstream solution, something like our AS series, for example, to reach that 99 percentile. So it's always important, and we'll review this later, that we ask our customers, what are you solving for? If you just have concerns with like streptococcus and surface area contamination inside an HVAC system, then great, we can stay with coil application and not really start getting into the more advanced add-on Airstream solutions. But obviously, if people, as you climb up this ladder here, and you're getting up more vertical here, influenza A, moving up the line here, now you're dealing with more airborne contaminants that, yes, even though the air is passing by the lamps that are mounted over the coil, they're going to get some destructive benefit coming off of the lamps, but really, you're going to have to look at some type of air supply solution to really give you a maximum bang for the buck against airborne viruses. So this is a very popular graph we put on all of our commercial literature. It's even more important nowadays. So that being said, I'm going to quickly slim through these just because I would always remind people, yes, we have the high infiltration. MERV 11, MERV 13, we do not have pressure drop issues. I know you guys have a lot of experience in the MERV 8 world. I've helped a lot of contractors level up their IAQ because not all filters are created equal. Our MERV 11 and MERV 13 filters, we don't sell anything below that MERV class, have 32 feet of surface area in them. So that helps us create more surface area to trap particulates, which means we don't have to weave them as tight to deal with some of those pressure drop problems like HEPA filters have. Plus, we actually have a patented design in there. The actual fibers are actually, if you looked at the tip of it on a magnifying glass, or you'd actually see it's actually shaped like a star. There's nooks and crannies in there, and they're actually statically charged as well. So these are really high-end filters to help target that IAQ focused type of customer to really deal with the large particulates. As I hinted, we got our ion generators. We actually have, this is something big for you guys, anybody in the commercial space and now the residential space, ductless HVAC is huge. And it's really the only upgrade you could really do to these things other than putting in ionization. But ductless heads have a big problem with being very filthy. So if they're not being serviced annual or biannually, more often than not, you're going to see growth inside of a ductless head. So we have products for that. We have, here's the portable air purifier I know you guys were interested in. And then we have a whole line of coil applications for residential. And then these on the upper right here are a higher end induct solutions for residentially, which we've also been able to target commercial applications as well. So real quick on a review, we have advantage products. If you guys ever decide to start target higher volume residential targeted mechanical contractors, nobody ever had a throwaway design. So we patented a throwaway design. That's, you can get it in our T3 if you want, or the basic 1-year lamp life. You can get it in the standard 12-inch versus 17-inch residential bulbs. But we wanted to create a way, hey, if we can help people get access to this technology and have more of a throwaway, always in warranty design, we came out with this about 3 years ago. So we consider this more of our entry-level application because you're not going to have that lifetime warranty product per se, because technically you just pull that module out every single year or every 2 years, and it's always in warranty. We do give people the ability to scale it, add a PCO module on there using our carbon, but this is not really designed to target a whole house application or a larger square footage unless you're going to be installing a lot of these. But this gives people access to, like, literally this product will be the cost of a higher end lifetime warranty bulb. Now, we also have higher end upgrades from that as well. We have beefed up versions to give you more PCO surface area to activate. And then this is actually what I have in my home. This is our lifetime warranty product. That's our signature series. This is a higher end design because we're shipping it with the light shield so you can direct the light onto the coil better, magnetic mount or hard mount, power monitoring system. It actually has a lamp life notification, and you have the ability to actually plug a secondary accessory lamp in, which is something we do on our higher end residential as well. So I actually have this plus the accessory lamp plugged on my coil right now in my basement because I have an end coil application. I wanted to get as much surface area coverage on that. So this is what I installed for my home. And then, as I hinted at earlier, there's different classes of UV. This is our product that actually uses UVA inside of the filter cabinet with our MERV 11 filter. But we also have a slide-in PCO titanium dioxide coated screen here. So as the air passes through the filter, then it passes by the UVA lamps, which are activating the PCO screen. And again, because it's in such proximity to the filter, we're not using a UVC class lamp. So to stay aligned with ASHRAE's guidelines, then we also give the ability to add on to UVC wavelength lamps to put on the coil. So if a customer installed this in an application, we would recommend that they add the accessory lamps on that can be wired into this power module and then put them over the coil, and then you're actually achieving the ASHRAE guidelines of using UVC wavelength products. But technically, the box by itself with a filter without adding those accessories on, that's a UVA application, not a UVC. So I always like to clarify that on that application. But again, using our high-end filtration, that's really popular out there for electronic whole house air purifications. So high-end residential / light commercial. I actually have this installed in my home. I'm going to be flipping this home into a rental unit. So this is our UVC catalyst. This is our top of the line residential. There's 3 whole strips of treated carbon on here with the titanium dioxide. This is a true zero ozone product. So there's passive and there's active PCO in this industry. This is a passive PCO because I'm absorbing the ozone byproduct that comes off of the PCO process. If you were just using a metal surface area product, then you can't call that a true passive PCO. That's an active PCO. And again, with those add-on accessory lamps, I have the ability on this higher end lifetime warranty design that when I take this power head off, everything is mounted in the ductwork, but this power head is outside the ductwork. I just take 2 screws, pop the power head off, and the bulb axis is right there. And then I have a secondary bulb inside this power head plug. And I can plug my accessory lamp on and then be able to add on a coil application. So again, per ASHRAE guidelines, we want to see surface area plus airstream. So with a catalyst install, I can go ahead from an easier wiring standpoint and go ahead and add an extra coil lamp on, just to make sure I'm getting my coil application covered as well. So that's a nice benefit. So I have that installed in my system as well. And then right now, because everything is so popular, we actually are pushing our Solaris more than anything. I actually helped, we actually quoted this on a commercial job in Pennsylvania, a big outfit. They wanted like 50 of these things, and they were just gonna wire them in a main air supply duct. Granted, We would have preferred to let them work with them on our matrix designs, but they were in a hurry and they're already using a competing product in the ductwork, and they couldn't get any more of them. I believe it was the Remy Halos. So they say, hey, we're in demand. We need another high-end solution. So our Solaris is actually the most directly competing product to the Remy Halo, for example, because it is in duct, it is targeting air purification. It does have UVC wavelength bulb in there. Actually, it's our higher end dual band bulb. And then this is actually an adjustable product. It's actually more adjustable than our competition. And there's also a 4 times plasma generation ionization here as well. So this is the product I hinted at earlier that has UV plus PCO plus ionization. So this has the most technology in one induct install out of all of our products. But as I hinted at earlier, the last slide, this is considered active PCO because we're using metal surface area titanium dioxide versus carbon. This also has twice as much metal surface area going around the product. If you remember that animation video earlier, the Photomax product has a single wrap 4 sides metal ballast. This actually, we've double walled it. So there's actually 2 walls worth. So it's double walled, twice as much surface area, which means twice as much titanium dioxide. So you're creating a lot more PCO benefits coming off of this product. And again, same benefit as the catalyst on the last slide. I can add on a 12-inch or a 17-inch easy light and take care of my coil application as well. So that's why in these mock-ups, you'll see 3 lamps around this one coil area. Well, in order to pull that off, you probably have our Solaris or our catalyst. You throw the accessory lamp on for 1 lamp, and then if you want to get maximum coverage, then I would put in that SSECUV that I have in my home to give me 2 more lamps on a coil if you're trying to go for that level of disinfection. So those are our 2 higher end solutions. We do have literature like this. If you ever need to see it as a cross-reference, I can send this as a separate PDF against like APCO, Remy Halo, and how our technology exceeds those. And then this I know is important to you. So this is one of our portable products. It is technically a commercial product, but I have people using it in residential applications. So this is our portable air purifier. This has been through at least 4 redesigns over the past 10 years. This is the current year model number is the UVP 6000. You could treat up to 500 square feet. There is a washable air filter inside of it, UVC class lamp, and then a full strip of carbon treated with titanium dioxide across the front of it. So the air is pulled up through the bottom of the chassis with a turbine fan, pulled into the box. It passes past the filter, goes through past the UVC lamp, and then obviously out the front of it through the PCO carbon accessories that are in the front there. And based on the size, even though it can treat up to 500 square feet, it's only 9 inches by 9 inches by 3 inches high. And we call it really a desktop module because thanks to the rubber feet to allow the airflow from underneath, you can just sit this right on the desk, plug it right in the wall. There's no special wiring needed. I've had some people actually mount them on the wall. Actually, there's a CrossFit gym up in Binghamton, New York. One of our wholesalers, his wife owns the facility. They have no ductwork. They have no ductless heads, nothing. It's just a big old warehouse, which is very common in the fitness space. And they wanted to treat that area. So they installed 5 of these because they had a 2,500 square foot space. So they equally spaced these around the perimeter of the facility to start trying to improve the air in there. So again, great product for a lot of versatile applications. I have a lot of contractors who they'll leave this behind in an office just to prove this technology works. And then they'll call back in a couple of days like, okay, now you're ready to give you a proper install. But a lot of times, if they have no ductwork and they have no ductless heads installed, this is going to be something you have to fall back to for a small space like that. So
yeah,
very popular.
That's what we're looking at. This this big customer of mine wants to buy 31 rooftop units, and then they have offices throughout the manufacturing facility that have basically the little window air conditioning.
Oh
units.
yeah, yep. There you go.
And so they want, I think it's like 18 or 19 of these portable ones that I told them about, and
so all the rooftop is supplying the factory, and then all the little offices they built later, they kept them completely separated off of the main airstream, and they probably just have a lot of stagnant air in those offices too because they also have the window air conditioner.
Yep.
Yeah, and I see this topic
sometimes there's 3 or 4 supervisors in the same little, one window air conditioning unit atmosphere,
Okay.
3 desks or so, and maybe a conference room table in the center.
One of my first jobs was in a factory a long time ago, so I know what you're talking about. I studied microelectronics technology in high school at a vocational technical college, and then I started at Penn State as an engineer, and I was doing internships at some interesting facilities. And yeah, they didn't really have some high-end offices. I'll just leave it at that. So, but this is great. I've seen this majorly impact stagnant offices too, who don't even have air conditioners. Because I'm in Allentown, we have the historic city of Bethlehem right next door with the old Bethlehem Steel properties, and
Sure.
a lot of those repurposing of those old brick warehouse structures. And yes, if you're doing a great open concept and you're running brand new, big, beautiful ductwork, fine. But if they don't, there's a lot of rooms or areas that they've not done that with. They don't want to pay for the higher end HVAC systems, so they're doing localized AC units like you're talking about. So yep. So that's definitely going to be a winner. This is the other winner. If you have clients with ductless head installs, as I was hinting at, this is our universal UV kit. So these are only 7-inch long bulbs. They actually include a full surround a shielding, so the light only exits from one side of the install. And you can install both or just one if it's a really, really small application, because we give you a bypass module in the kit. But this is auto power sensing, so it doesn't matter how that ductless head was installed. It'll figure out what it needs. You just tap off the power, you're good to go, because this is going to use less energy than a light bulb. And then if the ductless head is too small, this power module, as well as the lamps, they give you 2-sided tape application on the unit. So if they don't want to hard mount it, I've had guys, they put the bulbs up inside the unit, reclose the ductless head, and they'll just take this power head and just adhere it to the top of the casing, between the wall and the ceiling. So this has been a huge move for us, because this is, I can't tell you how many applications I've seen, like you just described, where maybe they finally moved away from the portable air conditioners and the windows, and they finally installed a ductless head, and they put the mini split ductless unit on the outside of the building, right outside the offices. So ductless has really exploded in our industry in the past 10 years, especially in the past 5. So this will be your go-to product, because again, I've seen other products put out in the industry now that are using ionization, or they're using some other type of airstream stripping that you put in the top of these heads where the air is coming out or at the bottom. But to stay aligned with ASHRAE and to actually address what's the biggest problem with ductless heads is you got moisture, you got what they call a filter. I call it really a screen. It's not filtering very much. And then you have all that moisture contained. It's like a little science experiment. With your background, you can get me. If I walk into a restaurant, a pizzeria, anywhere that's dealing with, breweries, for example, if they have one of these in the offices, that airborne yeast, let me tell you, that's a science experiment waiting to happen inside those heads. I've had to tear these apart and open them up and clean them, and black spores and all kinds of stuff get up inside these heads. And this is one of the ways to help fight that, because you could direct that light right onto the coil. So if you have dirty water, dirty moisture dripping off the coil into the drain pan of this head, you're helping inhibit the growth, because you're killing it before it drops. So I have other guys, they direct these bulbs right onto the blower wheel. Granted, this does not stop them having to do a PM cycle. You still have to come back in and clean these. But the whole point here is we're trying to inhibit growth inside these heads, because there's no other way to do it. So you don't have ductwork.
Yep.
So this will be a winner for you guys. Again, ionization has been around longer than UV. So I still remind people, our ion generator is actually more powerful than most. It's actually a universal mount. You can go inside the equipment or outside of the ductwork. We give the ability to have these electrodes flip down per this image here on the bottom right. So if they don't want to hard mount it, we give you a magnetic mount in the box. They can just magnetic mount it inside the equipment. If they don't have a space, they can go outside. And again, we recommend this right before the filter because it's been proven to improve filtration. But we have a lot of people also adding these into ice machines and PTAC units as well. But the M series I just showed you can also be applied in those applications too. And we also have a specific UVC lamp product targeted just at ice machines as well, because the restaurant industry is huge. But even big companies like you're talking about, you guys work with, they have cafeterias or lunch areas where they might have a commercial grade ice machine or a soda machine or something like that. So keeping the water clean is another important part of ice in general. So that's another product we definitely push a lot of. As I hinted, we do MERV 11, MERV 13 class filters, but everything is made in Vermont, made in the USA, and we have our own sheet metal plant up there too. So we're doing all of the high-end filter boxes. Everything can be powder coated. They can get them in stainless. We even help the contractors put their private labeling on the screening on the doors. We'll screen print the doors. We'll even color match it to the brand of equipment. So there's a lot of customization we can do here. So I always remind people we do all that. We do everything from straight throughs to red angles to these big support. Actually, these are a big claim to fame. A lot of companies don't make this support box, and this is huge in Pennsylvania. I move a lot of these in this market just from the residential side of things. So, but then more important for you is the commercial. So you've already hinted you've got experience from the SI to the AS. Have you ever worked with our 4Xs or the FS?
No, not the. I think I did install. Does the 4X come with a 30-inch bulb?
Oh yeah, you can get really long bulbs on here. Yep.
Yeah, I think I did install one 4X before.
Okay. So
With
this will be a
30-inch
good
long.
refresher for you because there's different, and there's even a couple other versions of our matrix not even showing here, but these are the most popular right now. So this is the biggest reminder for you and any of your customers is that the biggest question we have to be asking right now, really what we always should have been, is what are you trying to solve for? What are you solving for, right? Are we dealing with simply, SI applications on the coil airstream? I remind you about that blue and green graph, right? Are we going with just surface area growth, keeping the HVAC system clean, or are we really trying to target airborne pathogens and really get maximum disinfection rates? So as a reminder, SIs, that's your go-to for the large coils. If you've done the installs, everybody loves that telescoping design. We've always ensured we kept all the power and the wiring as much out of the airstream as possible. So we always put them on the far left, far right. If you've installed these, you understand you're just running power to left and right side and you're done. And because we're just powering bulbs, it really doesn't take a lot. Some people do like to have our monitoring. So we do have the high-end control panels if they want that option. So you actually have remote lamp monitoring. Again, depends on the customer. You don't need the control panels. That's obviously a nice add-on. Other times they'll just drill a hole through the unit and put a little light filtering module on there so they can see that the lamps are lit. As you know, UV is dangerous. We recommend people buying the goggles and the protective materials when working with this, but some people should not be just opening a door with all those UV shining and looking in there to see if they're working. So
Right.
I've seen it. Actually, one of my sales rep partner in New England, he had a sales rep from an HVAC guy. He actually did it, burned his retinas. It took a little while to heal, but he learned. So it's definitely not a recommendation. So here's your 4X you're talking about. So the 4X is popular because in commercial applications and commercial rooftops, you don't always have the big coil surface area to cover or even go with those nice big stackable rack systems like we can with the SI. So if you're dealing with smaller package units, smaller rooftops where you don't have the surface area to deal with the SI, that's where the matrix comes in, because that's why it's called 4X. It's a NEMA 4X rated waterproof enclosure. So all the electronics are on the outside of the equipment. So all you're doing is cutting access holes for the lamps. And as you hinted, right, am I getting a 12-inch, 22-inch, or 33-inch application? And we designed this in a single bulb and a two bulb application. So this specific section of the Matrix series only has six SKUs basically. You have single bulb, double bulb, and then you just pick your length. That's it. So this is a great way to get light into a small area, and you can't fit the SI, you can't go anything else, but I still got to get something into that equipment. I've had guys also use this in the Airstream as well. Maybe they don't have a big long duct run. So that's another great claim too on the 4X model. Now, obviously, if I'm targeting Airstream, you've already hinted at it. You've seen the AS. The newer renditions of the ASs, you can see on these little dots here in between the bulbs. We've already given you your light notifiers, so to speak. So there's a little clear lens on there so you can see the lamps are lit. So there is some real-time observation for people who are actually servicing these and monitoring these. They can see that these lights are on. And again, it depends. You might see 3 in a row. You might see 4 in a row. And again, per this mock-up here, it's all about the amount of time exposure as the air is passing through the supply duct. So this is an important reminder on the AS, because when we start getting into commercial quotes and a customer says, I want a maximum disinfection rate. Okay, well, what do you mean by maximum? Are you trying to target everything? Are you specifically saying COVID? Because then we have to get into some calculations. We have to look at that supply duct run, how much air is being treated, what is the velocity of the air moving through, and then you might not install just one of these. You might have to install 2 in a row, 3 in a row. It all depends on how big of an air supply you're dealing with. One thing I like to remind people is that they forget that they can actually get PCO photocatalytic oxidation adding in as an accessory on these units too. So I don't see it very often. Usually just running these big T3 lamps is enough for most people. But this is a great reminder on the AS here. So now, the big thing you probably have not seen before is upper room. So have you ever seen this design?
No, I have not. No.
Okay, so this was the European influence, and I'm already going to have to change the slide because the factory is redesigning this as we speak. They're going to switch from the vertical bulb application to a horizontal bulb install. So currently, it's a single SKU item. You have to determine how many of these you may need. This is actually called out in the ASHRAE handbook in chapter 62. We actually ASHRAE, we found out ASHRAE did list Chapter 62 completely separate, so I can send you a link from that, and you can bring up just that section of their massive handbook. And in there is a section just on upper room applications. They have
I'd
old
appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, they have old black and white photos from, God, there's an I think a CDC photograph from Brazil, and there was an old hospital in New York City that's already been decommissioned, but the photos in the handbook are from those applications, and they were using these upper room boxes. So as you can see from the size, these aren't big, right? They're 15, you're dealing with a room to target 15 feet by 15 feet at a minimum. You cannot go below that. If you go below that, for example, like a 10 foot by 10 foot room, the amount of UV still coming out and radiating outward from this box could discolor the wall on the opposite side of the room. That's how powerful UVC is. So we actually advise people, you are not going to use this in, for example, possibly that customer you're talking about right now, they might want these because you're going to get maximum air irradiation across the upper part of the room. The issue we have to worry about, though, is you got to have a minimum of a 7-foot height clearance. But as you can see here, in order to mount the box, it's really more between 7 and 8 feet. So if they have these types of rooms and they're at least greater than 225 square feet, you might want to consider quoting them on this, because you're going to get this is basically, there's no fans, there's no motors. It's doing the natural convective flow of air. So this is called the upper room application. This was big over in Europe for us for years. I had no idea until this year. And now they've been seeing this getting requested to add additional levels of air irradiation into like large open lobbies, big wide open spaces. So even if they're already dealing with rooftops or dealing with ductwork, they might be looking to get an additional level of irradiation into that space. And this has been quoted for that. Or in your situation, I've got conference rooms or offices that are big enough. Maybe, yes, I could use the UVP 6000, but maybe they want to quote something like this for a large conference room because they've got high ceilings. Have you seen jobs where you can see this apply?
Not too much, because again, you got to get to the installation. So somebody's got to run 120 volt wire to that spot on the wall that this is going to hang.
Well, the beauty is we ship this where you can tap into nearby power, again, auto power sensing, or we also give you a regular a plug wire. You can just AC plug it into an outlet nearby. So we give you both ways. If you're going to hardwire it or you're just going to plug and play, because again, you're just powering well, in this current design, that's two 12-inch lamps. But in the next design, this could be released, or they're flipping it and changing it, because they decided that if they move the bulbs horizontally, they can get a little bit longer bulb in there, and they can drop the overall height of the cabinet. So they don't need this 8.5-foot space. Now they only need an 8 foot at the highest point. So that's the whole point. You're mounting this is the highest part of the ceiling. So they immediately released that they're going to make that. They start making that redesign last week. So, but again,
now, what about the well, on that last picture there, what about your eyes? Like, how are you protecting the employee? Like, I could see the light bulbs there.
Great question, right? So that's why it's an upper room application. So in the front of this design is actually a whole panel of louvers. So the louvers are ensuring that the light shoots straight across the upper room space. So if you're standing below this and you're looking up, you can't look directly at that light. That's what the louver panel is for. And that's another reason why they require a 7-foot minimum height to meet that standard. Now, granted, if I start talking to somebody and they're employing NBA basketball players, I might need to, redesign this application to a different room. Right?
Sure.
But I'm 6'4", I'm fine. That whole panel of louvers is making sure light stays going across the up. That's why it's called upper room. We're keeping all that light across the upper part of the space, removing the chances of people looking at it. And like I said, until we trained on this earlier this year, I had no idea we actually had applications for convective air. But it's quite potent. I mean, as you can see here with these radiation charts here, obviously, again, the closer to the bulbs you are, the more powerful it is. So when people are quoting this or asking for this on a design, one, as I said, you want at least a 15-foot by 15-foot space or greater. Two, you want to have that height clearance. Three, then if you're doing bigger areas, that's going to then determine how often we might daisy chain these going down the wall, for example, in a large open cafeteria. That's another piece that's called out in Chapter 62. They're showing a cafeteria. They're showing a large hospital hallway. So that's where upper room comes into play. So that's something big for you guys. I can get you more information on this. I actually have a commercial literature piece that shows how they daisy chain them and use them in wide open spaces. And once I send you the link to chapter 62, it's actually on our website. You can see the photographs, you can see the upper room mock-up. It's all right there for you. So
Yeah, that's the way they used to do hospitals in the old days when tuberculosis was around.
exactly,
They
right?
put a little, I think it's probably 12-inch bulb into looked like a shell, to where it would just irradiate up onto the ceiling, and that was it.
Right.
You know, it didn't allow air to flow through it at the way the old design was.
Yeah, it's basically, it sounds like you already have experienced this, or at least studied it. So this is basically the newer rendition of what that was. So it's interesting how the old becomes the new over the years. You know, they bring it back. So actually, I was going to show. Like I said, I'll send you the link to this, but here you go. Let me switch the screen share here. I actually have the handbook up here. So chapter 62 is right here. And like, here's an example of those upper room applications. So,
yeah.
So see how they have them over everybody coming in and out of these doorways into this massive hallway. They actually, I mean, looking at that design, it looks like they were shining it downwards. I don't know. That's definitely back in the day. That's in Brazil. And then here's that cafeteria application where they have them every so often.
Yeah.
Across that space too. So yeah, this is all called out in here. Like I said, I found the link. I was impressed that they released that chapter. I think it was smart for them to do that, because right now it's about getting people properly informed and with the right education. So
right.
But yeah, that pretty much sums up as far as the overview of the line. Obviously, we represent a lot of product lines in the Northeast, but I will say, out of all of these, since you guys are IAQ focused, we also represent IAQ Lab out of Allentown here, and they designed a swab test kit years ago. And again, this is not going to tell you specifically what bacteria or what growth you may have, but it's a 5-minute or less test positive swab test kit. So you swab the surface area of a coil, or you swab the inside of a ductwork, you crack the little bulb on top, and it releases a reactant onto the tip. And basically it's a protein test. They took it from the health inspector space and then repackaged it for the HVAC space. And this is great for contractors to prove if there is any significant growth on a coil or in a ductwork while on the job site. If it basically starts off green, and once it gets onto the cotton swab tip, and then within 5 minutes, if it turns from green to gray, not really that big a deal. If it turns to pink or purple in 5 minutes or less, that gauge gives you that gauging of intensity. If it doesn't do any of that in 24 hours, all of them will eventually turn purple in 24 hours. But again, this is a time-sensitive test, and the whole point here is just to get a test positive on a job site, because most molds, fungus, bacteria, allergens, they all have some type of live protein present. And I'm guessing with your chemistry and biology background, you would get that.
Yep. We have those swabs here. I actually got a couple on my desk. Yep.
Oh, from this company?
No, not from that company.
Oh, okay, there you go. So anyway, that concludes our review. Now, obviously, please let me know if there's anything you want to expand further on that's specific to your needs. Obviously, UVP 6000 stood out the most, I know, for you, and possibly, maybe not for this job, but what are your thoughts on the upper room applications since you've been doing this a while?
Again, I guess trying to get electric to that spot that you're going to be putting it up to.
True.
The desktop seemed to be nice because, everybody has a plug in their, maybe even a 5-strip plug in their office, where your computer's hooked up to and your monitor. And I see that being a lot, for this customer anyway, a lot easier. They do have, like I said, about 30 some rooftop units, and Ultravation is out about 7 weeks right now, lead time, due to the COVID. So my contractor that I normally sell filters to is buying the RGF Halo and installing those, because they can get them from the local HVAC supply house. Fast.
Yeah, if somebody's already stocking a product, that definitely speeds things up, right? If you need them, if they're already in stock somewhere, for example. So
sure.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say is, and that's the other thing. Like, where you guys are at right now? Like, you ever hear of Purple Sun?
Did I ever hear what? You cut out.
You ever hear of Purple Sun from Long Island City, New York?
No.
So right now, just so you know, RGF, as far as I've been advised, RGF, Ultravation, all the big UV companies have been aligning themselves with the latest testing results. So Purple Sun is a manufacturer of portable, big wraparound disinfection paneling systems that they can put around a medical bed and just boom, like disinfect it all. So anyway, they were doing all the latest testing ahead of everybody. With COVID and everything else. So right now, everybody's been aligning their calculations and disinfection rates with the Purple Sun research. So if you need that information for your benefit, we have those documents on what their latest research is showing. And because obviously, yes, UVC will kill COVID, just like, because it's already been proven with the scientific method, it's killed all the viruses and bacteria it's ever gone up against. So, but people want to see it in some type of form of documentation. So,
Okay.
I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that information coming across just yet. So
No, I haven't. No.
okay, I have a lot of stuff to send you.
Yeah.
Well, I figured a guy on the cutting edge like you guys would probably want to know that information. So
Yeah, we do, because I mean that's how we sell items more expensive than, say, you can get a cheap filter anywhere,
right.
but you can't get a filter from us that you can hold up and read what time it is on a clock through it. We're going to be selling good quality stuff, and if somebody doesn't want to spend that money, then they can go somewhere else. We don't need customers like that. We need customers that are concerned about their air quality, concerned about their employees, and this is what brought this opportunity for Ultravation sales into this manufacturing plant. They're an infectious disease and health nurse said, hey, we need ultraviolet light. We're going to put it in every unit. But first, so I gave them a quote to put everything in, the desktop unit, as well as the ultraviolet lights in the rooftop units. And what's unique about this office area is they have 32 rooftop units that are exactly the same.
Oh, that makes it so much easier.
So what they're going to do is they're going to buy an RGF halo. They're going to put in better filtration in all 3 units, and then they're going to buy an ionizer, like your Omni system, I guess.
The Orion, the ion generator. Yep.
Orion. So they're going to pay me to come out and not knowing which office has which technology in the rooftop. They're going to have me come out and do indoor air quality sampling in those same 3 areas before they install anything. Then they're going to install each technology and have me come back and redo our indoor air quality. And when we do our indoor air quality, we sample for viable and non-viable mold, particulate 2.5 and PM10, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, temperature, relative humidity, of course, formaldehyde, and then also total organic, volatile organic compounds. So that being said, I'm anxious to see which technology proves the best. I guess I'm thinking, what's your thoughts?
And have you seen this yet, by the way, our latest release of the commercial literature? I definitely want to get this to you then, because this overviews the most popular parts of UV matrix.
No, I have not seen any new literature since.
Oh yeah, this got released a couple months ago. We polished it up again because we call out, for example, like here, like if you start doing more SIs and stuff, like people want to have real-time sampling monitoring, right? So we have these accessories. I don't know if you ever installed these, where we can give you real-time intensity monitoring if people are willing to pay for it. We'll give you lamp monitoring for intensity. You got the control panels to obviously monitor, make sure the lamps work, especially you got like a whole series of racks like this application. There's the control panel shown on this literature. There's the multiple racks stacked up, drain pan applications. Obviously, there's your AS. So you notice how we went from surface area, just blue, to obviously there's a combination of adding in your airstream, showing the daisy chain of bulbs. Here's the mock-up showing, okay, depending on the level of disinfection rate and how much air supply and how big the ductwork is, we may have to daisy chain. We might have to go long bulb, short bulb. If the ductwork is too wide, we might have to come in from each side. So great I really love the new rendition of this. We even call out the FS in here. There's an example of how we're trying to deal with a wide open space, and you might, 120 feet, 120 feet. So, or sorry, 10 feet apart, dealing with 120 inches apart. So, so this is a great new piece. And then we even call out some of the other versions of Matrix that haven't been as popular, right? The LCIs, there's your 4X again. And then even for you guys, sometimes you got to get really creative on a job site. So we even make our UV Matrix stuff long bulbs with shields, and then you decide where to stick them. So if you can't fit the 4X or you can't fit the SI, okay, let's at least get to the big commercial bulbs with the shielding so you can direct the light, and then you guys can decide what to do with it. So I don't know if you ever worked with the easy lights or not. So
actually, I think I had one of those in my furnace for about 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah, so the Easy Light is the accessory lamp, similar name, right? So we have the Easy Light, which I have in my system. That's the 12-inch or 17-inch often residentially. And then the Matrix version of the Easy Lights is obviously 20, 30-inch lamps that we put on the 4X, or we put on the SI. So yeah, you can get the standalone.
Yep.
And then for your benefit, this is something that I'll be sending you.
I have that printed out. Yeah, I have that printed out in front of me. I was
Perfect.
I was told to have that available when we do this training. So
yeah. So they sent me one version and then I redid it to this. So this is my design because the other version was a little clunky and there was too many fields to edit, and I wanted to lock them all down so you could only edit the green. But this is what Bill Fowler asks for, because he needs all this information, and because then from that you now get this. So if you have a job site where they call out a certain application and a certain disinfection rate, when you get an official quote back from Ultravation, we're going to call out, okay, all the measurements you gave us, everything else, and then this is an example of the data that's being spit out of his software, which actually right there will have coronavirus called out on the actual stuff. So if you ever need official quote responses, now granted, we need a week to get these calculated and processed because of the demand right now for commercial UV.
Sure.
This is an example of what your quotes will look like. You'll get all of this back. Like there's your SI equipment, scope of the supply, installation, but getting that graph in there is really, really important. So
yeah.
So this is just, again, you might not have seen this. I don't know. Have you ever gotten one of these before?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Good. Okay. So that's, if you've worked with Bill, still doing that. We're trying to help ways to speed it up. So that's what our meeting earlier today was about. But this is definitely, all information is going to help you guys.
Great.
So that being said, let me shut